now. So to start with, there we go. What do you think are transversal skills? Can you give me some examples of transversal skills that would match this definition?
Leadership. Leadership.
Yeah.
Communication.
Yeah.
Collaboration.
Fair enough. So these are transversal skills. We like to use the word transversal because it has an actual meaning in mathematics. So a transversal is a line that cuts across. And so usually when I ask people to think of transversals, they say parallel lines because that's the very famous thing. But a transversal basically cuts across. And here it cuts across ages, cuts across disciplines, educational career stages, everything. Everybody needs it. Bringing it home specifically, though, to engineering, it's well established that if our engineers are going to be productive and succeed in the near future, if they're going to meet these grand challenges or they're going to help us attain our sustainability goals, they will definitely need transversal skills. This is something that is recognized by all relevant stakeholders. That list of citations there could be much, much, much longer, but I thought we'll have some white space because there will be lots of other stuff on text coming soon. So everybody agrees that transversal skills are important. We did a study here some time ago, led by Helena and Isabel and everybody, and asked our graduating students, hey, how good a job are we actually doing in training you for the job market? And they said, with respect to disciplinary skills, really good. With respect to transversal skills, wow. I needed to do a lot of upskilling after I left EPFL so that I could perform my jobs well. And this is something that is seen across, not just at EPFL. Multiple institutions, multiple employers, multiple graduating students are saying that they are not work ready, that they are not satisfied with the proficiency they have in skills, and they really need to fill in a lot of gaps before they can be successful. So again, coming back here, there was a lot of work done over the last few years integrating transversal skills into our curriculum. So now if you look at any of our fiches de cours, you will see transversal skills specifically listed over there. We now have a center for teaching transversal skills here, at EPFL, showing that the priority that the institution has placed on transversal skills. And so transversal skills are explicitly mentioned in our planned curriculum, so our course documents. We assume that the teachers are then teaching it, so it's in the taught curriculum. So one of the questions the 3T Play team had was, are they also in the experienced curriculum? Do students really see them? Do they perceive these skills? Are they able to identify opportunities where they are actually developing these skills? And this is important because multiple researchers have shown that students, if they don't think they're learning something, they're not really learning it very well. And so it's important for students to perceive that they are learning something. And of course, what students perceive that they are learning can be very different from what the teacher thinks that they are teaching. And so at EPFL, when we asked them, what were the top 10, what were the skills that you were interested in developing? This is what they told us. Now you see 2 bars for each skill there. That's basically because we asked them 2 questions. Which skills are you most interested in developing? And which skills do you think the institution provides you least amount of support for? And those 2 basically matched.
Really? So they really think EPFL is not giving them communication support, and they really want to learn them?
Yes.
Wow. That matches perfectly.
The color code here is based on a CDIO framework, so don't worry about that too much. But these are the top 10 skills. And if you look at our course documents, though, these are some of the skills that are most frequently mentioned in our course documents. Like communication is mentioned in almost every course document. Then we asked them very specifically, do you receive information or training on transversal skills? Do you get feedback on the skill? And is the skill assessed as part of your grade for the semester? Basically, no. So that was not very encouraging. So you had a question, Joelyn?
Just looking at where the bulge is on the violin graph, so they don't get it very often in terms of information or training. It's maybe about the same level in the assessment of grades, but it's worse in terms of feedback. They get even less feedback on it.
Yeah. So maybe there is something talked about communication, and then they have a project at the end where they have to talk up front, but during the semester, not much feedback happening. So then we looked at teachers. And this was a research study that was done both here at EPFL, but coincidentally at the same time, the Norwegian Military Academy also was doing very, very similar things, and they had very similar findings, which was great. A big coincidence. So we asked engineering teachers, and they were like, yes, of course they are important, but students will learn them as they go. So we'll put them in group work, and they'll learn how to do group work. And teachers are also like, I don't really know how to help them develop these skills and what sort of pedagogical activities can actually help them develop these skills. This is a bit unfortunate because transversal skills are not developed by just putting students in these situations where we need them. The analogy, the really extreme analogy I like to use is it's like throwing somebody in the water and saying swim. Maybe they'll swim, maybe they'll drown and die. They probably won't drown and die while doing group work, but the skills they learn might not be as efficient, and they might need to do a lot of unlearning at the end of that. And so just like disciplinary skills are scaffolded, transversal skills also need to be scaffolded, and students need instructions on strategies. I will not give a student a high-powered laser or a bacterial concoction on the first day when they come to class. I will build them up to that. And so we build them up to transversal skills as well. And so that's where the 3T Play team comes in. This was the 4 of us. It was a jolly good gang, and we had Martha there as well. And the project was teaching transversal skills using tangibles to technical students. We know what transversal and technical is, and the tangibles are right in front of you. So before we talk more, since this is something about tangibles, we will have a very, very brief activity right now where you will get to play with Lego. And so what I want you to do is for 2 minutes, or till I finish distributing these, I want you to think about your experience in working with groups. What has made you more willing to contribute to a team task? And what has made you more confident to share your ideas, even though they might be a little bit out there? So think for yourselves and hold this in your head. This is for the 3 of you. Sorry. Sorry.
Trying to make space.
No worries, no worries.
What is
Kim, yeah. Let's put this down to Olga, Dan, and the ones online. I'm sorry, I do not have some Lego for you, and I really apologize, but I do want you to think about this. All right. Now, one of the things that makes people really confident and able to participate in teams and be creative and, not really worry about sharing ideas that might be out there is psychological safety. Because people believe that they will not be punished or humiliated for throwing something out there. And they'll not be punished for speaking out or having ideas or questioning, or they'll not offer making mistakes, and that's okay. And so that's something I want you to think about when you're doing your next activity. Here are a couple of strategies that you might want to use. One is asking open-ended, genuine questions. So say, what other ideas could we generate? How else could we do this? Rather than saying, this is what we are going to do, A, B, C. Another strategy is effective listening. Listen to what your partner is saying when you ask a question, or even if you don't and they're posing an idea. Understand where they are coming from. So, having said that, you are now going to be doing a group activity. So, you've been given sets of Lego. I want you to distribute them evenly among team members.
So maybe
All right. Does everybody have their Lego in front of them?
How do we share?
That's two, right?
You need to have Lego in front of you, and you need to know that that is yours. Okay. Now, you will have, and those two, share them. Each one should have some Lego. There should be no residual Lego. Keep it. Somebody has to have it. No residual Lego.
Go for it, yes.
Okay?
Continue our process.
Are you guys short of Lego?
No, they have just enough. Everybody has the same.
Everybody has the same.
Maybe now this is one.
Together, you are going to assemble a wind turbine similar to that in the photograph. So the 4 of you, the 3 of you, the 3 of you, and the 2 of you. Don't start. You can only touch the Lego bricks that are in front of you right now. You cannot touch any of the other bricks. And you will have 3 minutes. Go.
Okay, should I do the base?
Black thingy. We get the black thingy.
I think we need.
Have everything that you need. Oh, the black. I thought you meant the base.
Yes. And then we need 2 reds. Sorry, wait, what's the green?
This one.
And then we have 1 more green.
And I have an orange.
And then we need.
Of touching the Lego, so
It's gonna be easier if we maybe put the orange and so we will put a yellow on there.
The orange.
Yeah, please.
Yes. You can put it on the side.
So you have some help. I think we need to put one, but you need two in.
And then this is.
No, it doesn't. No, Of the base, yeah. Would it be exactly like Peter or?
Should be.
Okay.
No, she was just asking us with the windmill, not for the.
No, yeah.
10 seconds.
I think they're all kind of.
Okay. Hands off your Lego. What did you actually do? Did you focus only on building the windmill? Or did you also focus a little bit on psychological safety? You were told how to do that. So what happened or did not happen that maybe could have decreased it? What happened or did not happen that could have increased it?
So we
Now
met
what?
him.
No, this is self.
Oh,
We're doing self.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
We're thinking for ourselves.
I feel so safe that I want to share.
And take a minute to think what you might do differently next time.
So, tell me.
Yeah, 2 things. First, you made me feeling guilty in the beginning where I feel like late.
Are you going to do it next time?
And secondly, you made it openly to everyone.
So, are you never going to be late after?
Yes, I guess.
All right. So this was a very, very brief activity that we developed 3 days ago, but which was developed using the 3T play Trident. Instead of hearing about that, yeah.
I have a question. Nobody, actually, it's in the back and the down, but in your picture it's in the up. So I quite
It did.
why it's
It didn't matter. It was just a similar thing.
It was not
Your
about-
product didn't matter. The product didn't matter at all.
okay.
So,
Really? Because it looks like we're the only ones that actually got the colors right. So it kind of matters to me that you guys all failed and we won.
they did not fail. They so did not fail, but
With the evidence that we were provided.
As you say in English, a bad work person blames their tools.
Hello, dear colleagues. It's Siara Isaac, and it is nice to almost be with you. So, a little background on the 3T approach to teaching transversal skills that we have articulated in these 3 moments of knowing, experiencing, and learning from experience. So, these 3 moments are underpinned by some learning sciences research in terms of why these 3 moments. Sorry. So both from our literature review and from interviews with EPFL instructors, the most visible moment of teaching skills is definitely the experience, where students are actually in a context where they need to apply the skills. When we did focus groups with EPFL instructors after they participated in a 3T play activity, this was really the part that was really visible and stood out for them. And also when they're talking about their own teaching, about when students are developing skills. What's challenging, however, for students developing skills during the moments where they need to actually apply skills in their general engineering curriculum is that these moments are typically have quite high cognitive load, that students are simultaneously integrating both disciplinary knowledge, often new knowledge, perhaps interdisciplinary context, while also working on the skills. And also an expectation that they're simultaneously developing several skills, both collaboration skills with peers and the project management. And so there's a lot going on that makes it quite challenging. There's also an often implicit but very real push towards prioritizing the product, that the teams get assessed and that what they get assessed on for the project is what they have produced, not how they went about producing it. So they get assessed on this product, not on the skills that they're developing for future projects. It often happens over a long time frame, that the project is a semester project. So when they're actually getting feedback on how well things went, that's quite a bit later, and the opportunity for them to iterate and to do it again is next semester or even after the summer. And each of those iterations takes significant resources, both from the part of students and from instructors. So those are some of the constraints in terms of developing that informed our approach to developing these shorter activities. The next piece in the Trident is the learning from experience. And I really want to emphasize here the learning, because it's actually when we step back from an experience and think about it that we actually learn, that we develop the skill sets that we can transfer into new contexts. And this was something in our interviews with EPFL instructors that was very present and obvious for some instructors, and other instructors overlook this aspect entirely. However, it really is key to actually developing the skill set of thinking about this decision-making versus last week's and how that was different and why that might have been different. Why was it successful once and not successful the other time, so that you can move towards implementing the strategies that worked well. These contexts, the learning from experience, the reflection moments, are quite rare in higher education. So higher education doesn't typically really promote this transfer between contexts. And secondly, engineering students don't typically engage in this type of reflection without explicit prompts. I'm going to go back up to the first one on the page here of the knowing, of the So that's obviously the concepts and knowledge, and that's the concepts and knowledge related to the skill, not the disciplinary content and knowledge. And this is frequently absent in higher education, that there's so much disciplinary knowledge that we overlook the content knowledge related to the skills themselves. However, this has been well documented that there really is, it's necessary to provide the content knowledge related to the skills. And we really need to make sure that students are receiving that part of a complete package. The other part to the 3T play approach is the micro-experiential part. So it's informed by some of the things that I've mentioned from the previous page, but also like, what is the experiential part? And the experiential part is really focusing on the skills. It's in the moment, that it's not the thing that you're producing, but it's the act of producing it. That because they are a little more lighthearted, that they've got bright colored bricks with them, that it's easier to have that encouragement and that fun, which helps us persist when it might be a little bit uncomfortable, maybe around emotional self-management, but that we're generating the difficulties, the relevant challenges for emotional self-management, for instance, but in a short activity, so you can iterate it several times, maybe also iterate it, that first experience with your project team early in the semester when you're not actually having a lot of conflict yet, and then later. So you've got that low stakes because it's just about the game, but the opportunity to take that learning forward and apply it next. So it's a very brief review there of this flexible approach that you can adapt for different skills. We're not suggesting there's a particular order to these, as you can see, that the idea though is that you get each of these moments within a learning activity for skill development. I'll pass you back to Joelyn, and I look forward to seeing you in September. Hello, dear colleagues.
Okay, so this is the trident that Siara just talked about was used to scaffold the activity and to develop the activity that you just participated in like 7 minutes. Let's analyze it. Did you see these 3 distinct moments? How and when?
No. I went straight for the end result, actually. You did tell us before this is how we had to make a safe space.
So the moment of knowledge did exist.
Yes, before.
Okay, what about the moment of experiencing? As you said, you went straight into it, so you had the moment of experiencing.
Yeah,
and what about the moment of learning from your experiences? Did that happen?
Isn't that something we are doing right now?
We're analyzing the activity, but in the moment, while you were doing it, was there a moment in which you could learn from your experience about psychological safety?
No. I was too much focused on the end product, and you gave me a time. You told us 3 minutes and don't touch anyone else's. So I was like,
So that is part of the experiencing, that is setting up many of the constraints that students have, and setting it up to be there, for there to be a conflict. Because often it's like, but that blue block needs to go there, and that blue block is in Nihat's hand, and Nihat is not putting it there, let me just take it from Nihat's hand.
Yeah.
And Nihat was doing his own thing, of course. So there is that conflict. But was there a moment when you stepped back and you said, okay, this is what happened, this could have happened differently, this is why it happened? Did you have that moment?
There was a moment when you asked us to do it at the end, yeah. And then you were going to talk about it, and then we all had to not talk about it, but think about it ourselves. So there was a moment which you identified as the moment in which we should learn from experience.
Was that the only moment?
Well, I kind of asked by the end if everybody agreed on our outcome, and then I saw everybody's, for the majority, a bit of confused face, like why? So I think that was, for me, that prompted learning from experience.
We started the activity by thinking about your experiences previously. You and your students all come with experiences. And so the trident does not have to happen in this order. So we actually started this activity by learning from your previous experiences. Then we went into the knowledge bit where I told you, hey, it's a psychological safety, be nice. Then you went into the experiencing. And then you had another moment where you were supposed to learn from that 3 minutes of conflict that I created for you. So even though this was in 10 minutes or less, it's supposed to be in 7 minutes, it was very explicitly structured to have these 3 moments embedded in it. All right. I know we're running short on time, so I'm going to go through the next few slides, which now will show you a little bit about the impact we have had with these activities. So we and people around the world have actually been doing research using the trident. And one of the things that we have found is that there is a shift in the students' self-assessment of the proficiency in the activity, but also in their attitudinal skill when they experience activities like this. However, if you only have the experiencing moment without the knowledge or the learning from experience, the learning gains are much lower than the others. The highest gains were seen when there is experiencing and knowledge. That's because they were answering surveys both before and after. And so implicitly there was learning from experiencing happening, even though we were not making them do that because they were answering those surveys. And so that is data that USAP is still crunching, and we're going to get out soon. This is data from India, very preliminary data from students who showed, who had pre and post survey of asking the students about, do you know the definitions of the concepts? Have you experienced it? Have you got feedback? What's your confidence level with the skill? And can you transfer it to a different context? Will you be able to use it in a different context? And they see gains for all when the activity is scaffolded using the trident model. Some more data from Switzerland. Depending on how you frame the task, so the constraints that you frame around the task, can have a large influence on the skills that students actually choose to develop. So as a teacher, if there is a particular skill that you think your students should be developing, having the task constraints explicitly focus on that does a great deal to shift it. The other thing that we also saw in general was that, broad things like understanding the project and planning skills decreased, and they had more of a finer vocabulary as well as they came to the end of the project. So understanding, time management decreased, and decision making and financial matters and very specific things, those sort of things increased when students experienced activities designed by 3T Play. And of course, there's a lot more data on our desktops. Somebody has to crunch it. In terms of touching people that the activity has, 3T Play has touched, we've had a global impact. It has been done on 4 continents, not in South America, because that is France. And so when you put France, it comes there. So nothing has been done in South America, as far as we know. But it's been done, and the colors there tell you whether it's done only by the team, whether it was done by the team and somebody else, or it was done only by somebody else. And the 2 blues that you see here, the 3T Play team didn't go there. So it is done by people completely outside of the 3T Play team. Here are some numbers of people, and it's a lovely graphic that Julie made for us, this is only during 2024. And of course, there's been before 2024 and after 2024, many things have happened, but this is only during 2024. These are the number of more than almost 4,000 people have experienced 3T Play activities. Well, most of them are in Switzerland because they're here, but you can see all across the world as well. At that time in India, there was not a single activity that was done by one of us. I went in January, but the 476 people that you see there, that was not me. That was somebody else completely. So this is how 3T Play has been adapted and adopted. And you don't have to read all 4 of these, but I'd like to highlight the first one. That is Rucha. She is a professor in Punjab she attended a conference. She actually didn't come for the workshop, but she knew about the workshop. She spoke to us about it. 2 weeks later, she had already done the activity at another conference in India with teachers. And then she redesigned her course based on it and collected the activity pre and post. And the data that you saw about students' learning gains, that is from her course over there. Brian experienced an activity with Siara and then facilitated it for 1,000 students. Callum is, he does upskilling for practicing engineers. And he was like, this is brilliant. I'm going to use the 3T Play Trident to scaffold the upskilling that we do for practicing engineers. And Rosalie is amazing. She just discovered our materials online and she took it and she ran with it. She had never experienced any of our activities. And these are just some of the stories that we have, and there are so many more. We've tried doing our outreach in multiple ways. We've made short videos on the approach, on illustrating the tangibles. Valentina did a lot of amazing work on that. We've had several online trainings for people, and Siara and I recently featured in the CEFI podcast. And of course, the biggest thing that we've had, one of the biggest things that we've had is the book that has come out. And as of yesterday, the book has been downloaded 647 times. This book has 8 chapters. The first one is about the framework. How do you do experiential learning and how do you assess it? And then there are 6 different chapters targeting 6 different transversal skills, which have been downloaded various number of times independent of the book. Each of these 6 is structured the exact same way. You have an activity description in the outcomes. You have a beautiful déroulement, which shows you what is supposed to be happening in the color corresponding with the trident, the size of the bubbles telling you the time, and on top it tells you whether this is a single group, double group, or all that. We also have a very practical but detailed underpinnings for the teachers to be able to just read and teach it. And we have all the slides and handouts that they will need. Finally, recognizing that there are more than 6 transversal skills in the world, we have the 8th chapter, which uses the backward design approach to help teachers leverage the trident to develop their own activity. And for you here at EPFL, if you want to use it, we have kits ready that you can just take. We have the tangibles, you can take them and go to your classrooms and you can use them. And so we hope the impact continues. Please download the book. It is open access. And with that, from Siara and me, thank you.